Right, so today is a pretty monumental, well, maybe not monumental to you guys or anybody else, but for me personally, just because today is the day I'm getting my first vaccination. That's right, today I'm going for the Pfizer jab vaccination thing. So, you know what, I've been told I should be alright. I mean, obviously there's a lot of press about some weird stuff going on, but you know what, we'll see how it goes, and if I'm feeling a bit funny and a bit woozy and a bit dizzy and all the above later on. Hopefully I should be alright, but we'll only find out once I've gotten there. So let's get going. That's feeling a little bit better. You know what? Now I'm back to my normal self. I was thinking last week I did a video about the things that I didn't like. And you know what? It turned out better than I thought. I didn't say it in the video, but you know what? I'll admit it turned out better than I thought. So I thought, why not let's do a photography form, which I do actually like. And that's basically double exposures. I'm going to start off and I'll tell you how to do it with this thing. Alright, so to do a double exposure, it's pretty simple, and I'll tell you about that in a second. But I just want to say why I like it, because basically it's a form of photography which I feel like it looks nice, it looks professional, it's pretty simple to do, and you can pick it up pretty simply in a short amount of time. It might take 1 or 2 tries, it might 1 or 2 goes, just to understand what you need from it. But essentially, once you know the ins and outs of what you need, you're pretty much set to go, and you can make some pretty cool and pretty professional shots. I'll try to do it now. Alright, before we even start editing, there are a couple of things that you might want to think about. Now, I'll tell you some of them a bit later on in the video, but the first thing I'm going to tell you is to just think 1 or 2 things about when you're out on your shoot. Think about the kind of mood you want to give off. Sometimes you want something a bit more happy and cheerful, sometimes you want something a bit more dark and serious. I'd say generally for this type of shot, generally it's a bit more dark and serious, but you can change that, maybe add a bit of colour, maybe smile in your image, I don't know. You'll probably figure a way out to do that. But anyway, this isn't a video about positioning your subject, this is about how to get a double exposure, so I'll tell you to do that right now. So here we have the 2 shots I'm going to use for this first edit. You're going to want to put them both on the same layer, and then just hide your secondary shot just for now. Next we're going to go right up here and select the selection tool. And then, as you've probably guessed, we're just going to select our subject, which in this case is me holding this hat. Once you've made your selection, you can right click and then select feather, and this should give you a bit more of a softer edge around your subject if it needs it. Now you've done that, you can go down here and select your adjustment mask, and it should automatically mask it for you and take away everything but your subject. Now we're going to bring back our second image and just reshape it and put it in the position that you want. Originally when I took this picture, my vision for this was that this head would be coming out the back of my head, and it looked kind of creepy but kind of cool as well. But now I'm thinking, just from the image and the way I positioned it, it looks more like a robotic mesh kind of arm, or even like some kind of armor. So I'm going to keep it down here and almost give into that kind of cybernetic look. Once you're happy with where you placed it, come down here and add a solid color, and this will act as our background, so put this at the very bottom of all your layers. Next, double click on it and then pick the lightest area of your secondary image. For us, this will be the sky. Once you've done that, click on your secondary image and then change the layer style to screen. Now I'm just going to reposition it a little bit just so it matches my arm a bit more, and also the position of my hand. Next, to take away that harsh line and blend the secondary image into the first one, we're going to add another adjustment mask and just take away all the areas that we don't want. Now just to make it a little more dynamic, we're going to go up here to adjustments and then select the levels adjustment. Optionally, you can also select the curves layer, and all we're doing with this layer is just trying to make it a little more dynamic and have a bit more of a contrast. So just making the darkers a little darker and add a little bit more brightness on the highlights. And there you go. Now you know how to do some cool double exposure photography. And like a lot of the tutorials and techniques we do on this channel, it's pretty simple and pretty easy. Now, like I said in the beginning of this tutorial, try and think about your positioning, because you can really take your edit from just a normal kind of cool shot to something way better. Just thinking about the mood you want to give off, maybe the expressions, the positions of everything. Just think about that and you should be fine. I mean, as you can see, I'm going for a bit more of a dark and moody look, but you don't have to do that. You can do something completely opposite. I just thought this worked kind of well with what I wanted to kind of give off from this photo shoot. And even though they look a bit serious, they can be taken a little quirky if you want to see it in that way. And also, don't just think that you need just one image and another image, and you put them together and you got double exposure. You could get a bit creative with it, because as you can see from this edit, as you can see, this is a pretty normal double exposure. Nothing amazing about it. I mean, it's all right. It looks okay. I'm not gonna say it looks bad. Maybe you've seen something similar to this before. But I guess it's just a pretty standard double exposure, which is all right, but maybe you want to do something a little different with it. So as you can see on this one, I've just lowered the secondary image, which is the building, to a bit more of a lower position. And I've got a whole top section, which is blank. So what I'm gonna do is just duplicate that secondary image and place it on the top half of our primary image. Now, debatably, you might think it doesn't look as good, maybe it looks a little confusing, but being completely honest, I do kind of like this one quite a bit. It almost kind of looks like an illusion, and I also really like all the lines, and it's a weird form of architecture going on in the midsection. So maybe it's something to try out. So now you know how to do a double exposure and something that's a double exposure, or an exposure times 2, something like that. It's one of the two. But anyway, let's get back to outside me, because I've got a bit more information to tell you when you're trying to think about your double exposure photography. So let's go. So basically, my idea was obviously to use this hat, which we have used it. You've seen it in some of the pictures. But there was a time where, I'm gonna call this paint, because we were using this hat and paint for something. But do you actually remember?
What,
we remember this hat was used and there's paint on it. Oh no, it was a flower. It was flower. It was a little ghost thing. That was it. Yeah. It was a flower ghost thing. And obviously flowers stuck to it. I don't know why. Flowers shouldn't do that. So it's a bit white bits all over it. And also the shape's going to have to wash it. And I didn't know how to mess up the hat. So now it doesn't look cool anymore. It just looks like some messed up hat. But we'll still make it work, even though the hat is messed up. Alright, so to get a decent double exposure, if you're beginning, a good way to start off is just think about your lighting and even a little bit of the colour that you'll be wearing or wherever you're shooting. So as you can see, I've got a black hat, I've got a darkish kind of coat and a white shirt. So the idea is, when you're doing a double exposure, the lighter areas will be revealing something. It'll be your second image. So ideally you want to have that contrast of dark and light. And that's why I'm wearing this. Also, a lot of the time people use landscapes as a secondary image, the thing coming out of the portrait. You can do that, or if you want to be really experimental, just try something else. I'm just going to stick with the landscape because it's pretty easy to understand and it gives you a good gauge of the kind of image you could probably get if you're starting out. So let's go. And you know what, maybe another thing you should think about is just the time of day and the weather that you will naturally have on the day of your shoot, because today it's kind of sunny. It's kind of dipping out between sunny and a little cloudy. You know what, cloudy is actually pretty good for this, because again, you want that kind of natural contrast between the darker areas and the lighter areas, and obviously clothing does help and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, just think about your weather, and you know what, if it's sunny as well, that also gives you that nice contrast. So you know what, they both work well. I just think personally, the cloudy weather, it might just soften out the kind of the lines between the harshness. So just think about that and you should be good. All right, and that is the end of the video. And I hope you did like it, because like I was saying in the beginning of this video, this is actually a photography form that I also really enjoy doing. I don't do enough of it, I'll admit. But you know what, it's, like I was saying, it's easy-ish. It's simple-ish. And also you've got that very professional vibe about it if you do it to a decent standard. Obviously the more you do it, the more better it'll look. But even as a beginner, you can get some pretty decent shots from just thinking about maybe your color a bit of your scenery, I guess. But anyway, you can do all that. I need to, like, you know, sit down because I'm getting a bit woozy from, I don't know if it was that shot or something, I don't know. But anyway, thanks for watching the video. Hope you liked the video. If you did, give it a like. If you're not subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll see you in next week's video where I'll be doing something a little fun and a little quirky. I just need to what the video is just how does that look?
I think it looked alright.